The ship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. It was old and tired-looking. The paint on its hull was faded. Some of the metal plates had rust on them. To anyone watching, it looked like a simple cargo ship that had seen too many years of work. The name on the side read Evergreen Dawn. It was a freighter, a merchant vessel that carried food and supplies from one colony to another. Nothing special, nothing important, just another working ship trying to make money in the vast emptiness of space. Captain Park sat in his chair on the bridge. He was a man in his 50s with gray hair at his temples and deep lines on his face. His eyes were calm and steady. He had been flying ships for 30 years. He had seen many things in that time, good things and bad things. He feared very little now. The bridge was small and simple. Old screens showed navigation data. The lights flickered sometimes. The air recycler made a soft humming noise that never stopped. Everything about this ship said one thing: poor, struggling, weak. Lee sat at the navigation console. She was younger than the captain, maybe 30 years old. Her black hair was tied back in a simple knot. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced skill. She watched the star maps and made small corrections to their course. "We will reach the nebula in 4 hours," she said without looking up. Nodded slowly. "Good, keep us on the standard trade lane, no need to hurry." In the engine room below worked on the reactor. He was a big man with thick arms and oil stains on his clothes. He knew every part of this ship, every wire, every pipe, every secret it held, and this ship held many secrets. Looked at his tools and smiled to himself. The reactor in front of him looked old and weak. It made the sounds of a tired machine. But behind a hidden wall just 3 meters away there was another reactor, a military reactor, one that could power a battleship. It sat silent and cold, waiting. The crew of the Evergreen Dawn numbered 12 people. Most of them looked like ordinary workers. Cooks, cleaners, cargo handlers. They wore simple clothes and did simple jobs. They laughed and complained about the food and talked about their families back home. But knew the truth about each of them. He had chosen them carefully. In the communications room, watched her screens. She was small and quiet. She wore glasses and rarely spoke more than a few words. Her job was to listen, to watch, to know what was happening in the space around them. Her screens showed something interesting today. 3 ships had been following them for 2 days now. They stayed far away. They thought they were hidden, but had found them anyway. She pressed a button on her console. "Captain, we have shadows." His voice came back calm and unsurprised. "How many?" "3 ships, design, Raider class." There was a short silence, then said, "Thank you, keep watching them." There were reptilian creatures from a hot world near the galactic center. They were tall and covered in scales. Their eyes were yellow and cold like a snake's eyes. For hundreds of years they had been pirates, raiders, slavers. They attacked weak ships and took everything of value: cargo, technology, people. The Galactic Union had tried to stop them many times, but they were clever. They hid in nebulas and asteroid fields. They struck fast and disappeared before help could arrive. Many species feared them. Commander stood on the bridge of his lead cruiser. He was large even for a... His scales were dark green, almost black. A long scar ran down the left side of his face. He had earned that scar in battle 20 years ago. He wore it with pride. He looked at the image of the human freighter on his screen. Such a small ship, such a small crew, easy prey. "What do we know about them?" he asked his second in command. "They are humans, Commander, from Earth." Made a sound like grinding rocks. It was Hal laughed. "Yes, I have heard the stories, dangerous creatures from a dangerous planet." He waved one clawed hand. "But look at their ship. Old, slow, no weapons, no shields worth mentioning. They are merchants, farmers, not warriors." His second looked uncertain. "The stories say that humans are unpredictable, that they—" "Stories are for frightening children," interrupted. "I have raided 100 ships. I have killed 1,000 creatures. These humans bleed like anything else." He pointed at the screen. "That ship carries agricultural supplies, seeds, fertilizers, equipment. It is worth 50,000 credits on the black market. And the crew," his yellow eyes gleamed, 12 healthy humans will sell well in the slave markets of Prime." Back on the Evergreen Dawn, Captain stood up from his chair. He stretched his back slowly. His bones made small popping sounds. He was getting old for this work. He said quietly, "Send someone to wake Sergeant. Tell him we will have visitors soon." Looked up from her console, her face showed no fear, only a small, cold smile. "Yes, Captain, I will tell him." Walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 3 ships full of pirates were planning to attack him. They thought they were the hunters. They thought the Evergreen Dawn was helpless prey. They were wrong. Had been doing this job for 15 years, pretending to be weak, waiting for predators to come close, and then showing them what humans really were. He touched the glass with one finger. It was cold. "Wake up," he said to himself. "Time to go to work." Sergeant opened his eyes slowly. The lights in the small room were dim. The air was cool and dry. He lay still for a moment and listened to the sounds of the ship around him. He was not a large man. He was short and compact with a body made of hard muscle and old scars. His face was calm and patient. His eyes were dark and showed nothing of what he was thinking. He had learned long ago to hide his thoughts. A young crew member stood at the door. Her name was Shin. She looked nervous. "Sergeant," she said, "the captain says we have visitors coming." Sat up slowly. He did not rush. Rushing led to mistakes. Mistakes led to death. He had learned this lesson in the war zones of 3 different planets. "How many?" he asked. 3 raider ships." Nodded. He stood up and began to dress. His movements were careful and exact. Every piece of clothing went in the right place. Every weapon was checked and positioned correctly. "Wake the others," he said. "Tell them to prepare quietly." Hurried away to do as he said. Walked through the ship's lower corridors. The lights were dim here. The walls were plain metal. To anyone looking, this seemed like the cargo hold of a poor merchant ship. Storage containers were stacked everywhere. Simple goods for simple trade. But knew what was hidden inside those containers. He stopped at a row of 6 large boxes marked agricultural equipment. He pressed his hand against a hidden panel. The front of each box opened with a soft hiss. Inside were not farm tools. Inside were pods, and inside each pod was a person. Han Minyu was the first to wake. He was young and strong with quick eyes that missed nothing. Behind him came Bora, a woman with short hair and a scar on her neck. Then, each of them woke quickly and silently. No confusion, no questions. They had done this many times before. These were not farmers or merchants. They were soldiers, military contractors hired by Earth Protectorate to guard valuable cargo. Each one had survived things that would kill ordinary people. Each one was a weapon made of flesh and bone. "Status?" Minyu asked as he stepped out of his pod. 3 raiders told him. "They think we are helpless merchants. They will try to board us soon." Bora smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Good, I was getting bored." While the soldiers prepared below, Commander moved his fleet into position. His 3 cruisers formed a triangle around the human freighter. There was no escape now. The prey was trapped. Opened a communication channel. His voice echoed through the speakers of the Evergreen Dawn. "Human vessel, this is Commander of the Free Fleet. You are surrounded. You cannot run, you cannot hide. Surrender your cargo and your crew. Do this peacefully and some of you may live. Resist and you will all die screaming." On the bridge, translated the message. Not that it needed much translation. Threats sounded the same in any language. Captain listened without expression. His crew watched him, waiting. Some of them were actually nervous. The younger ones who had not done this before, but the veterans showed nothing. They knew what was coming. Looked at her captain. They want an answer. Nodded slowly. He pressed the communication button. "Commander," he said. His voice was flat and calm, almost bored. "I am required by Galactic Union Code 77 Gamma to inform you that this vessel is registered under Earth Protectorate guidelines. You have one chance to leave peacefully. I suggest you take it." Heard these words and laughed. The sound was ugly and cold. "Earth Protectorate guidelines," he said to his crew. "Do you hear this? The human threatens us with paperwork." His officers laughed with him. "Human captain, your laws mean nothing here. Your protectorate is far away. Out here I am the law, and I say you belong to me now." He closed the channel and turned to his boarding teams. "Prepare to attack. Take the cargo first. Then take the crew alive if possible. Dead humans are worth nothing in the slave markets." 20 warriors gathered at the airlocks. They wore armor made of black metal. They carried plasma rifles and vibration blades. Their yellow eyes gleamed with hunger. For them, this was not just a job. It was sport. They enjoyed the fear of their victims. They enjoyed the killing. Back on the Evergreen Dawn, closed his own communication channel. He looked around at his crew. "They did not leave," he said simply. Nodded, "No, they did not." Touched a button on his chair. "Sergeant, they refused to withdraw. Prepare for boarding defense." His voice came back calm and steady. "Understood, Captain, we are ready." Throughout the ship, things began to change. But these changes were invisible from outside. The hull still looked old and weak. The engine signature still showed a tired civilian reactor. Everything seemed the same. But inside the walls, hidden panels began to unlock. Behind the cargo containers, armored doors slid open silently. In the ceiling and floor, weapons that had never existed on any official record moved into position. The crew members who had seemed like simple workers reached under their consoles and pulled out weapons. Real weapons, military grade, the kind of guns that could punch holes through armor like it was paper. Was in the engine room. His hand rested on a large lever marked with red warning signs. "Captain," he said through the comm, "ready to switch to primary power on your command." Sat back in his chair. He looked old and tired, but his eyes were hard as stone. "Not yet," he said. "Let them board first. Let them see what they have walked into." The first boarding pod slammed into the Evergreen Dawn's hull. Metal screamed as claws cut through the outer plating. Air hissed out into space. Red emergency lights began to flash. The airlock opened. 20 warriors poured into the ship. They expected to find frightened humans hiding in corners. They expected easy prey. The corridor was dark and empty. The emergency lights made everything look red like blood. The air smelled strange. Wrong. Something deep in the warriors felt a cold warning, an instinct from ancient times when their ancestors were not the hunters but the hunted. "Spread out," the team leader ordered. "Find them." They moved into the darkness. None of them noticed the small red dots that appeared on their armor, laser sights, targeting systems. In the shadows, Sergeant watched them through his rifle scope. His finger rested lightly on the trigger. Around him, his team waited in perfect silence. "Welcome to our ship," whispered. Then he pulled the trigger. The first warrior fell before he even knew he was dead. The bullet went through his helmet and out the other side. He dropped to the floor without a sound. The second warrior turned toward the noise. Another bullet found him. Then another. 3 died in less than 2 seconds. The darkness came alive with gunfire. Muzzle flashes lit up the corridor like lightning. The sound was deafening. The warriors tried to return fire, but they could not see their enemies. The humans moved through the shadows like ghosts. Minu came from the left. His rifle barked 3 times. 3 more fell. Bora dropped from a ceiling panel directly onto a warrior. Her knife found the gap in his armor before he could scream, and worked as a pair, covering each other as they advanced through the smoke and chaos. The team leader tried to organize his warriors. He shouted orders. He pointed directions. A bullet took him in the throat. He died trying to speak. In less than 3 minutes, it was over. 20 warriors lay dead on the floor. Not one human had been injured. Walked through the bodies. He checked each one carefully, making sure, always making sure. First team eliminated, he reported through his comm. No casualties on our side. On his cruiser, Commander received a message from his second boarding team. They had entered through a different airlock. They had found the cargo hold. Commander, the team leader said, something is wrong here. The cargo containers are. The transmission ended in static and screaming. Felt something cold in his stomach, fear. He had not felt fear in many years. He did not like the feeling. All teams report, he ordered. Silence, dead silence. He turned to his tactical officer. Scan that ship, full sensors now. The tactical officer worked his console. His scales went pale as he read the results. Commander, the ship's power signature is changing. On the Evergreen Dawn, Captain spoke one word. Now. Pulled the red lever. Deep in the ship, the old civilian reactor went silent. For one heartbeat, everything was dark and quiet. Then the second reactor woke up, the military reactor. Power flooded through hidden cables and secret systems. The whole ship seemed to come alive. The hull of the Evergreen Dawn began to change. Panels that had looked old and rusted slid aside. What was beneath them was not rust. It was armor, real armor, military-grade plating that could stop plasma fire and rounds. Weapon systems rose from hidden compartments, not the small defensive guns that merchant ships sometimes carried. These were warship weapons that could punch through a cruiser's hull, plasma lances that could cut a ship in half, missile batteries loaded with warheads that glowed with deadly light. And worst of all, rising from the top of the ship like a monster waking from sleep, was a singularity torpedo launcher, a weapon so dangerous that 14 species had banned it, a weapon that could create a small black hole and crush anything nearby into nothing. Stared at a screen. His yellow eyes were wide with shock. That is not a merchant ship, he said. His voice was barely a whisper. His tactical officer was shaking. Commander, those weapons. That is a warship, a heavy cruiser at least, maybe worse. We cannot fight that. His mind raced. How was this possible? The scans had shown a civilian freighter. Old engines, no weapons, weak shields. Everything had said this was easy prey. He understood now. Too late he understood. The humans had been hiding, not because they were weak, because they were strong. So strong that showing their true power was considered an act of war. He thought about the stories he had dismissed, the stories about humans, how they survived on a planet that tried to kill them every day, how their history was written in blood and war, how they had almost destroyed themselves many times before they reached the stars. And now they were here, among the other species, pretending to be peaceful merchants and quiet colonists, hiding what they really were. Full retreat, screamed. All ships full retreat now. His helmsman tried to turn the cruiser. The engines fired. The ship began to move. It was too late. On the Evergreen Dawn's bridge had already calculated the firing solutions. Her fingers moved across her console. Targeting data flowed to the weapons systems. All enemies locked, she said calmly. Looked at the 3 cruisers on his screen. They were trying to run, like prey running from a predator. The irony was not lost on him. They killed 16 merchant ships last year, said quietly. Over 200 people, sold into slavery or killed for sport. Nodded, he felt no anger, no hatred, only a cold, heavy duty. Fire, he said. The spoke first. 6 shots in rapid succession. Each one traveled at a fraction of the speed of light. The first cruiser took 3 rounds through its engine section. It broke apart in a silent explosion. Fire and metal scattered into space. The second cruiser tried to return fire. Its plasma cannons hit the Evergreen Dawn's shields. The shields did not even flicker. The weapons were like throwing stones at a mountain. The plasma lances activated. Two beams of superheated matter cut through space. They hit the second cruiser from bow to stern. The ship split in two, then exploded. Only its flagship remained. Watch it try to run. Its engines were at maximum power. It was faster than the other two had been. Was smart. He knew when to flee. But he was not fast enough. Target the engines only, ordered. Disable, do not destroy. Adjusted her targeting. A single round hit the flagship's engine section with surgical precision. The ship lost power. It drifted dead in space. On his crippled bridge sat in his command chair. Around him his crew was dead or dying. Consoles sparked. The air was full of smoke. Everything he had built over 20 years of raiding was gone, destroyed in less than 5 minutes. He heard a sound. The human ship was hailing him. Captain's face appeared on the screen. The old man looked tired, sad almost, but his eyes were hard as steel. Commander said, "Your fleet is destroyed, your boarding parties are dead, your ship is disabled, you have lost." Said nothing. What was there to say? "You will surrender yourself to Galactic Union authorities," continued. "You will stand trial for piracy, slavery, and murder. This is not a request." Finally found his voice. It came out broken and confused. "Why?" he asked. "Why do you hide what you are? Why pretend to be weak when you are this?" Was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. "Because if the galaxy knew what we really were, Commander, they would never stop being afraid of us. And fear makes people do stupid things." He paused. "Like attacking merchant ships." The screen went dark. Sat alone in the ruins of his command. He understood now. He finally understood. Humans were not pretending to be harmless. They were choosing to be harmless. And that was far more terrifying. The Evergreen Dawn floated in the silent darkness of space. Around it, the wreckage of two cruisers drifted slowly outward. Twisted metal, frozen bodies, the remains of ships that had thought they were hunting easy prey. Captain stood at the window of his bridge. He watched the debris field without expression. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. No one celebrated. No one cheered. This was not something to celebrate. Said softly, "Switch us back to civilian power. Retract the weapons. Restore normal appearance." In the engine room, nodded even though the captain could not see him. His big hands moved across the controls. The military reactor powered down. The hidden weapons slid back into their compartments. The armor plating disappeared behind panels designed to look old and rusted. In minutes, the terrifying warship was gone. In its place was the same tired merchant freighter that had been traveling through the trade lanes. The Evergreen Dawn, just another working ship trying to survive. Looked up from her console. The flagship is stable. Life support is functioning. Estimate 7 survivors on board. "Prepare a boarding team," ordered. "Take Commander alive, he is important." His team had already finished cleaning up the dead in the corridors. The bodies were placed in storage. The blood was cleaned from the floors. Soon there would be no evidence that anything had happened here. This was routine for them. They had done it many times before. Minu and Bora led the team that boarded the crippled flagship. They moved through the dark corridors carefully. Most of the crew was dead, killed by the loss of power and atmosphere when the hit. Only a handful survived in sealed compartments. They found on the bridge. He was alone. His officers had died around him. He sat in his command chair like a king on a broken throne. His yellow eyes followed the humans as they entered. Minu pointed his rifle at the commander. "Do not move. You are under arrest by authority of the Galactic Union." Laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound. Under arrest, how civilized. He looked at the humans with something like wonder. You could kill me. You could destroy this entire sector and no one would stop you, yet you follow laws. That is what separates us from pirates, Bora said coldly. She moved forward with restraints. No, said softly, that is what makes you terrifying. They brought back to the Evergreen Dawn in chains. He walked through the corridors of the human ship with wide eyes. Everything looked so ordinary, so simple, so harmless. And yet behind every wall, hidden in every ceiling panel, there were weapons capable of destroying warships. He had seen the truth now. He could not unsee it. Captain met him in the cargo bay. The old man stood with his hands behind his back. His face showed no anger, no triumph, only a tired patience. You will be delivered to Union Station 17, told him. There you will face trial for your crimes. Many species have complaints against you, Commander. Your trial will not be short. Studied the human captain. You have been doing this for years, haven't you? Pretending to be weak, waiting for predators like me to attack, and then destroying us. Nodded slightly. 15 years. How many ships like yours are out there? Smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Every human ship in space, Commander, every single one. Scales went pale. That is not possible, the resources alone. Earth learned many lessons in its history, interrupted. One of the most important was this: if you want peace, prepare for war. Our merchant ships are warships. Our colony transports carry enough firepower to conquer planets. Our civilian stations can become military fortresses in hours. He stepped closer to the commander. His voice dropped low. We do not hide our weapons because we are afraid to use them. We hide them because we are not afraid to use them. Because if the galaxy saw what we truly were, every species would unite against us out of fear. And that would mean war. Endless war. War that no one would win. Shook his head slowly. You could rule this galaxy. With your weapons, your warriors, your technology, you could conquer everyone. Yes, agreed. We could. And that is exactly why we choose not to. Power means nothing if it destroys everything worth protecting. He turned and walked away. At the door, he paused and looked back. Consider yourself lucky, Commander. You attacked a ship that follows Earth Protectorate rules. We take prisoners. We hold trials. We believe in justice. His eyes hardened. There are human ships out there that do not follow those rules. Ships crewed by survivors of raids. Ships that remember what your people did to their families. Felt a chill run through his body. What are you saying? I am saying that the next time pirates attack a human ship, it might not be one like mine. It might be one of theirs, and they will not be as kind as I have been. The door closed, leaving alone with his guards. On the bridge, had already plotted a course to Union Station 17. It was a 3-day journey at standard speed. Plenty of time for the news to spread. Captain said, I am receiving queries from other ships in the sector. They detected our weapons discharge. They want to know what happened. Sat down in his chair. He felt every year of his age in his bones. Tell them the truth. Tell them they attacked a human merchant ship. Tell them what happened to the... Hesitated, all of it. All of it. Make sure they know we took a survivor. Make sure they know he will face trial. Understood. The survivor was the message, not the dead. Dead enemies told no stories, but living witnesses spread fear, and fear prevented future attacks. This was the doctrine, the Earth Protectorate doctrine. Show enough power to terrify, then show enough mercy to seem civilized. Make the galaxy understand that humans could destroy anyone who threatened them, but also make them understand that humans chose not to. It was a delicate balance. Too much power and everyone would unite against them. Too little and predators like the would never stop attacking. Down in the cargo hold, Sergeant was checking his team. Everyone was accounted for. No injuries, no problems. The youngest of them cleaned her rifle in silence. She had killed 4 today. Her first real combat. Watched her carefully for signs of trauma, but her hands were steady. "You did well today," he told her. She looked up at him. Her eyes were calm. "They were going to enslave us, sell us like animals." "Yes, they were." "Then I feel nothing for them." She went back to cleaning her weapon. Nodded slowly. This was the reality of space. It was not the peaceful exploration that children dreamed about. It was survival. It was violence. It was the strong hunting the weak. Earth had been a violent world. Humanity had fought and killed and destroyed for thousands of years. They had nearly ended themselves many times, but they had survived. They had learned. They had become something new. Something dangerous. Something that hid its claws behind a smile, and its weapons behind rusted hull panels. And now the galaxy was slowly learning what humans really were. One dead pirate fleet at a time. Union Station 17 was a massive structure floating in the empty space between three star systems. It served as a meeting place for dozens of species. Traders came here to do business. Diplomats came here to make agreements, and criminals came here to face justice. The Evergreen Dawn arrived on the third day, exactly as had calculated. Other ships made room for them as they approached. Word had already spread. Everyone knew what this tired old freighter had done to 3 raider ships. Captain transmitted his docking request. The station authority responded immediately. Priority clearance. No waiting. The humans were given the best berth available. Smiled to himself. This was also part of the message. Treat humans with respect. Give them what they need. Do not make them angry. Commander was handed over to Union security officers. They were large creatures with armored bodies and many eyes. They showed no emotion as they took the commander away. To them, he was just another criminal, another pirate who had finally been caught. But was more than that now. He was evidence, living proof of what happened when you attacked humanity. The trial began 1 week later. Representatives from 12 species attended. Many of them had lost ships to raiders over the years. Many of them had lost people. They came to see justice done. Stood in the center of the great court. Chains bound his arms and legs. His scales had lost their color. His yellow eyes were dull and tired. He looked like a creature that had already accepted its death. The charges were read: piracy, murder, slavery, destruction of property, crimes against sentient beings. The list went on for nearly an hour. When asked how he pleaded, said only one word: guilty. The court was surprised. Criminals usually fought their charges. They usually claimed innocence or tried to make deals. Did none of these things. He simply admitted what he had done. During the testimony, he was asked about the attack on the human ship. What had happened? How had 3 cruisers been destroyed by a single freighter? Told them everything. He described the hidden weapons, the military reactor, the soldiers hiding in pods, the impossible firepower that had erupted from what seemed like a harmless merchant vessel. Every human ship is a warship, he said. His voice was flat and empty. They hide what they are. They pretend to be weak and harmless, but they are not. They are the most dangerous species in this galaxy, and they choose to be peaceful. He looked at the representatives around him. His yellow eyes moved from face to face. Do not make them choose differently. The trial ended quickly after that. Was sentenced to life imprisonment on a frozen moon at the edge of known space. He would never leave. He would never see his again, but he would live. That was the human way. Kill when necessary, show mercy when possible. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. In the pirate havens of the Outer Rim, captains who had considered attacking human ships quietly changed their plans. In the slave markets, traders stopped asking about human cargo. In the war rooms of aggressive species, military commanders studied the reports and decided that humanity was not worth the cost. On Earth, the Protectorate Council met to review the incident. Admiral O led the discussion. She was a woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent her life protecting humanity's interests in space. "The doctrine holds," she said to her colleagues. "Activity in human space has dropped by 87% since the incident. Other pirate groups show similar patterns." A younger officer spoke up. "Some species are afraid of us now. They see us as monsters hiding behind masks." "Good," replied. "Let them be afraid. Fear keeps them from attacking. Fear saves lives, ours and theirs." Another officer frowned. "Is this sustainable? Eventually someone will call our bluff. They will attack in force, test our limits." Smiled coldly. "Then they will learn that it is not a bluff. We have been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We survived ice ages, plagues, and nuclear weapons. We survived ourselves." She looked around the table. "Do you think we cannot survive a few alien empires?" No one answered. They all knew the truth. Humanity had not survived by being gentle. They had survived by being adaptable, ruthless, and united when it mattered. The meeting ended with no changes to the doctrine. Human ships would continue to hide their weapons. Human colonies would continue to seem peaceful, and when attacked, they would respond with overwhelming force. It was not a perfect system, but it worked. Far from Earth, the Evergreen Dawn continued its journey. The ship had been repaired and restocked at Union Station 17. New supplies filled the cargo hold. New mission orders waited in the computer. Captain sat in his chair on the bridge. He was tired. 15 years of this work had worn him down. He thought about retirement, about a small house on a quiet world, about never holding a weapon again. But not yet. Not while there were still predators in the dark. Not while humanity still needed protectors. Looked up from her console. "New course plotted, Captain. Standard trade route through the sector." "Any threats in that area?" "Reports of raiders operating near the broken moons. Possibly 6 ships." Nodded slowly. There were creatures, smaller than the but just as cruel. They liked to attack ships and eat the crews alive. They had been warned about human vessels many times. "Set course," he ordered. "Standard approach, make us look helpless." Smiled in the engine room. Began waking his team from their pods. Prepared her monitoring equipment. Everyone knew their jobs. Everyone was ready. In the cargo hold, new containers held new secrets. Weapons, armor, equipment, everything needed to turn a merchant ship into a weapon of war. The Evergreen Dawn looked old and tired as it left the station. Its hull was dull. Its engines wheezed. Its power signature showed nothing but a civilian reactor struggling to keep the lights on. Just another freighter, just another target. Somewhere in the sector, raiders were hunting. They had heard the stories about they had laughed at them. They had been careless, they said, overconfident. "We will not make the same mistakes." They were wrong. As the Evergreen Dawn passed through the dark spaces between stars, looked out at the endless night. So many dangers out there, so many threats, but also so much beauty, so much possibility. Humanity had come so far, from caves on Earth to colonies across the galaxy. They had made mistakes. They had done terrible things, but they had also learned, grown, become something better. And they would continue to protect themselves, quietly, patiently, with hidden weapons and false weakness. Because that was the human way. Let the galaxy see farmers and merchants. Let them see weak ships and peaceful colonists. Let them think humans were just another harmless species trying to survive. But remember the truth. Inside every sheep there was a wolf waiting. Inside every merchant ship there was a warship hiding. Inside every human there was a survivor of 10,000 years of war. And when the predators came, the wolves would wake up. They always did.